The Galactic Council had seen many impossible things in its 10,000-year history. They had witnessed stars being born and civilizations crumbling into cosmic dust. They had brokered peace between species that communicated through bioluminescent patterns and those who spoke only in subsonic frequencies. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared them for the humans. Lieutenant Alara Chen stood in the observation deck of the ISS Prometheus, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the distant nebula swirl in colors that had no names in any Earth language. Behind her, something growled, a low, rumbling sound that made the Vrexian ambassador's scales rattle in primal fear whenever he visited. "Core," Ilara said without turning around, her voice carrying that peculiar tone that only humans seem to possess, firm but not threatening. "What did we talk about?" The growling stopped immediately. In the corner of the lieutenant's quarters, a creature the size of a full-grown tiger uncurled itself from its resting position. Core was a juvenile Velkari, a species that had terrorized entire sectors of the galaxy for 3 millennia. Adult Velkari stood 12 feet tall, possessed claws that could rend starship hulls, and had never in recorded history been domesticated, trained, or even approached without extreme military force. Core's parents had destroyed 2 colony ships before the human fleet arrived. The Velkari cub's obsidian scales caught the starlight, creating patterns of shadow and gleam across its muscular form. 6 eyes, arranged in a vertical line down its elongated skull, fixed on Alara with an intensity that would have sent any other species scrambling for their sidearms. Its mouth opened slightly, revealing rows of crystalline teeth designed to crack through armor plating. "I know you're not happy about bedtime," Alara continued, finally turning to face the predator. She crossed the room with confident strides, not aggressive, not fearful, just purposeful. "But that's the rule. Lights out means sleep." Core's 3rd and 4th eyes narrowed, a Velkari expression that xenobiologists had documented as preparatory to extreme violence. The cub's haunches tensed, and a subsonic rumble began to emanate from its chest cavity, a frequency known to paralyze prey species within a 50-meter radius. Alara stopped 3 feet away and raised one eyebrow. "Really? We're doing this again?" The rumbling intensified. Core's claws extended, scraping against the metal floor with sounds like swords being sharpened. Every instinct coded into its DNA over millions of years of evolution screamed at it to attack, to dominate, to establish its place at the apex of the food chain. Then, Ilara did something that made visiting xenobiologists question their entire understanding of interspecies dynamics. She pointed at the floor. "Sit." For a moment, the universe held its breath. On the bridge, Commander Park watched through the internal security feed, his hand hovering over the emergency containment protocols. In the docking bay, a Vrexian supply crew had stopped their work, their collective consciousness united in morbid fascination. Core's muscles coiled tighter. The predator's jaw opened wider and a hiss escaped, the sound of superheated gas being expelled through biological vents. A final warning before a Velkari launched its killing strike. "Core," Alara said quietly, and there was something in her voice now. Not anger, not fear, but disappointment. "We're better than this. You're better than this." The hissing stopped. Slowly, almost reluctantly, the juvenile Velkari's haunches lowered, its claws retracted with audible clicks. The 6 eyes blinked in sequence, top to bottom, an involuntary gesture that Velkari researchers had never observed outside of parent-offspring interactions. "Good," Alara said, and her tone warmed immediately. She reached out and placed her hand on the cub's skull, right between the 2nd and 3rd eye. Core's entire body relaxed under her touch. "You're a good boy. I know you don't like rules, but rules keep us safe. Rules keep you safe." She scratched gently behind the armored ridge where the Velkari's auditory sensors lay hidden. Core made a sound. Not quite a purr, not quite a rumble, but something entirely unprecedented in Velkari behavioral documentation. The subsonic frequency shifted from paralytic to something almost soothing. "Now," Alara said, stepping back toward her bunk, "it's bedtime. You know where you sleep." She gestured to a specially reinforced alcove beside her bed, large enough for a growing Velkari, padded with thermal blankets that compensated for the species' cold-blooded metabolism, and decorated with various toys that were actually pieces of scrap metal Core enjoyed gnawing on. The predator cub looked at the alcove. It looked back at Alara. For a moment, rebellion flickered in those 6 ancient eyes. Then Kor rose to its full height, already 8 feet long from snout to tail, and padded across the room. The creature's movements were fluid, purposeful, and completely controlled as it stepped into its designated sleeping area. It circled once, twice, then settled down with its tail curled around its body. Alara climbed into her own bunk and dimmed the lights to night cycle settings. In the darkness, Kor's eyes glowed faintly, bioluminescent markers that allowed Velkari to track each other through the lightless caves of their homeworld. "Lights out," Alara said softly. One by one, Kor's eyes closed. On the bridge, Commander Park released a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Beside him, the Vrexian ambassador stood trembling, his translator struggling to convey the magnitude of his species' shock. "How?" the Vrexian finally managed. "How does she do that?" "The Velkari are apex predators. They cannot be tamed. They cannot be controlled. 3 of our colony worlds are extinct because of them." Commander Park smiled, that uniquely human expression that showed teeth but meant friendship. "Lieutenant Chen doesn't control Kor, Ambassador." She raised him. "There's a difference. But the aggression, the dominance displays—" "Kor's a teenager," Park interrupted. "He's testing boundaries. It's what kids do. Human kids, Velkari kids, doesn't really matter. They push and you push back with consistency and love. Eventually, they figure it out." The ambassador's scales rippled in confusion. "Love? You use a word for pair bonding to describe your interaction with an apex predator?" "No," Park said, his smile widening. "We use the word family." Below them, in the quiet darkness of her quarters, Lieutenant Alara Chen slept peacefully. 3 feet away, a creature descended from a species that had shattered empires, dreamed whatever dreams young predators dream, one claw twitching occasionally as if chasing prey through alien forests. And when the nightmares came, because they always came for creatures raised in space, away from their ancestral hunting grounds, Kor would whimper in frequencies too low for most species to hear. But Alara always heard, and she would reach out her hand, rest it on those obsidian scales and whisper, "You're safe. I'm here." And the nightmares would flee because even in dreams, predators recognized the presence of something more dangerous than teeth and claws. They recognized family,